All right, Tampa's hottest master plan community. We got price cuts in this video. We got major incentives. And just let me show you the resort style setup of this whole place. But even more than that, I want to tell you a story about clients of mine that found amazing community when they relocated from another part of the country to the Tampa area in one of these communities. Super valuable story. Don't miss it. Here we go. Let's start with talking about where we are on the map. So Mirada is up here just on the north side of Wesley Chapel. Technically not in Wesley Chapel. Technically I'm in San Antonio, which I grew up in Oklahoma, so I would go to Texas often as a kid. And San Antonio, Texas is a lot different than San Antonio, Florida. San Antonio, Florida is very small. But when you look at this area, you can really combine Wesley Chapel, San Antonio, Zephyr Hills in a lot of ways. And I know locals hate when I do stuff like that. I just don't really care, because if you're relocating here from somewhere else, that's how you're gonna make sense of it. So Mirada's big marketing push was this like staycation idea. And they really started building and marketing during the pandemic when people were working from home, when everything was just kind of different. People were looking to not leave home a whole lot. So it hit at a really good time to get the first wave, kind of phase one of builders and residents in here. Now in past videos, I have lumped together Epperson and Mirada at times, and I will continue to do that because they actually connect in one spot, and then they're really close to each other as well. They're also built by the same developer, have a lot of the same home builders in them. They both have big lagoons. Epperson was one of the first. It wasn't actually the first. And Mirada is the biggest. And now it's like 2 times bigger than the average. So before we get into where we are on the map exactly, let me tell you a story about some clients, Riley and Jordan. They now have 2 kids. They bought a house in Epperson. They actually reached out again recently. We've kind of made some mutual friends just working around the area, which is kind of funny. We run into people that know each other. You guys know what mutual friends are. I don't know why I need to explain it like that. But in talking to Riley recently, they brought up wanting to have a bigger place. They actually just bought a townhouse in Epperson when they relocated from New York City. Seemed big at the time. They were going from a super tiny apartment in New York with super uneven floors, and they were excited to have this nice new place. Well, they had another kid, and Riley runs a business, works from home, so they wanted a bigger place. But interestingly, they wanted to live in Epperson. They wanted to stay in the same part of Epperson even, because of the relationships and the community they built in the neighborhood. So that is often why our clients are choosing these neighborhoods, these more master planned, diverse housing, big amenity center kind of places. That's super interesting to me because I'm not naturally drawn to a neighborhood like this. A lot of our clients are, and it's fun to have a very specific reason why they are. So Riley and Jordan have built relationships in person in their neighborhood, but then they also post about community stuff on Instagram and things like that. And they've made all of these virtual relationships in their neighborhood. They run into people and people are like, oh, Jordan, I saw that thing you posted, and they haven't even met yet. So it's created this really unique community for them. And combined, Epperson and Mirada is close to 5,000 homes. That makes it a pretty big community when you combine them. Separately though, they're not that huge compared to some of the other neighborhoods around. So when we're talking about where we are specifically, I like to talk about distances to specific things. Typically I'm thinking airport, beach, downtown. Those are kind of the main things that help people kind of understand where they are on the map. That's usually what I'm trying to do, like how far will I have to commute to work? That's kind of the basic question that a lot of us are asking. So let's talk about those distances. So you can see here on the map how long it would take you to get to the airport, Tampa Airport, the beach, let's say Honeymoon Island. It's kind of the easiest shot across there. And then let's say downtown Tampa. I also want to show for reference how long it's going to take you to get to downtown St. Petersburg. That gets quite a bit further away the further up here you get. But this area, when you look at it on the map, it's kind of boxed in. You have I-75 on the west side, you have Highway 52 on the north side, and then on the south side, you kind of have like Highway 54, County Line Road a little further south, but Highway 54 is kind of that container that I'm thinking of. Everything within this container feels very similar, and the outskirts of it are growing faster and faster and getting nicer and nicer. I've talked about this previously about these kind of outer rings of the Tampa area, and Mirada here is a really good example of that. So I'm in a home right now that was built by DRB Homes in the Eagles Cove section of Mirada. In this section, you have more traditional homes like this, and you have more modern homes, which you can see from the road there. These are big houses. This is 3,500 square feet, 4 bedrooms. It's listed right now for $774, but what's interesting to me is that the model homes and the available homes, so the inventory homes that DRB has built and needs to sell, the prices are getting cut on those. Now, not by a whole lot, but 30 to 40,000 for some of them, brings the house into a kind of a different price bracket at times. But the style of this neighborhood overall is very master planned, resort living, pretty walkways and parks and nice amenities, even the big fountains as you come in, which interesting story. I heard that those fountains, the big mounds that you see in this shot right here, it's actually because they had extra dirt that they didn't know how to get rid of, or they didn't want to pay to get rid of. So they just made these mounds and then built these fountains around them. That's the story I heard from the guy that helped build the lagoon. I don't know. It seems like dirt wouldn't be that hard to get rid of, but maybe it is. So this DRB section is a little more modern. Not typical Florida houses. Across the street, you have a Homes by West Bay section that is much more like Tuscan looking. You can see everybody has barrel tile roofs. Everything has a very specific style and look. Each section of Mirada isn't so far themed like that, but each section does feel very consistent. Like the Lennar Active Adult section, 55 plus part of the community has a very specific style. And that's the same style they're using in these other master planned communities like Angeline, here in Mirada, Epperson, and then the ones down in Parrish as well. But clean, new, contemporary feels throughout this whole community. Quick idea on what I think the future of these areas is going to be like. I think these towns are going to melt together even more. So you have new communities up here on the north side like Mirada and Angeline. And then on the south side, you have new communities too, like Two Rivers and all of those others that are along State Road 56. So River Landing and all those down there. And then Two Rivers is going to be huge. Two Rivers, they're starting in Pasco County, but most of it's going to be in Hillsborough County. And that's going to really melt that Meadow Point neighborhood on the south side of Wesley Chapel and over into Two Rivers. All that's going to kind of melt down into New Tampa. Okay, I am gonna show you this house a little bit because I wanna point out a few features that I think are really nice. So right when you walk in, it opens up nice and tall. You've got 18-foot ceilings up there. I'm kind of guessing on 18. Over here to your right, you have a couple things. You have a single car garage and you have one office there with a closet on the outside of there. But I love this big opening right here. Just a big wide opening, not a narrow entryway when you come in right there from the front door. You got a dining room over here. All this is like pretty normal stuff. This isn't like a home tour, but it's just a big modern layout. And that's typically what people are looking for when they're thinking new construction is the way they want to go. I like the layouts from DRB, and there's one that's kind of like a courtyard style that I really like. You can see from these drone shots, actually when you come in the front door, you're just covered. It's indoor, outdoor space. Like a lot of them have pavers, you could put a pool in there really easily. It's super, super nice, and I love that feel, because if you're moving to Florida, you're thinking, a lot of you are thinking this kind of indoor, outdoor vibe. And this builder has a few models that capture that really, really well. Big primary bathroom, big seamless walk-in shower. No tub in this one, but big bathrooms and big closets in here as well. So the big kitchen in here is nothing that special. It's really one counter over here and then a big island, but it does have quite a bit of space. You have a walk-in pantry here that goes back and around. And then over on this side is your 2-car garage and laundry. So a lot of DRB's models have a couple rooms upstairs, and that is kind of a different feel. If you're wanting a 2-story, our clients really go one way or the other. They either really want 1-story or they really want 2-story. So whichever one you want, we've got options for you. Okay, going into 2025, I think that new construction, especially these bigger developments, are going to have a lot of great options for you. They're going to be more flexible with incentives and more flexible on price. We've already seen price reductions. We've already seen more and more incentives as we're getting toward the end of 2024, and next year there's going to be even more. So where we see most incentives is typically with quick move-in homes. So some of these builders, all their houses are kind of quick move-in. Like a builder like D.R. Horton, like you're not going to D.R. Horton if you want to build from the dirt. You're just not. You're picking a model they have that fits your needs. You have a couple great ones with mother-in-law suites that people love, but that's where the incentives typically are, is on those ones where you can't control it quite as much. Out here, we've got a lot of builders though. We looked at DRB, talked about Homes by West Bay. We've got 2 different Lennar communities. We've got D.R. Horton building townhouses and single family homes. We've got Casa Fresca. I think that's it. I'll get a shot of the sign so you can see. But everybody kind of has their own different incentives, especially right now. In a big neighborhood like this, there's tons of trails and sidewalks, and I love seeing how they connect to these specific little enclaves of homes. You see this like little road blocked off, cars can't get through it. It goes right out to the main sidewalk. So you can go right out the back of your neighborhood to this main sidewalk system. That's pretty nice. Along the sidewalk, you have more of the parks, you have little lakes, you have swamps. You know, I like calling them swamps, but I realize if you don't live here already, you think of a swamp as pretty gross. But, you know, wetlands, a bunch of birds, a bunch of fish, stuff like that. Okay, a little bit about the fees. These sidewalks, these lakes and swamps and everything are not free. So with a neighborhood like this, you have CDD fees. Of course, you have HOA fees for all the amenities, but you have CDD fees for the infrastructure. One thing I like that Mirada does is they show you the O&M amount, which is operations and maintenance, something like that. And then they show you the debt service. So CDD is a debt that the developer takes on and passes back to you through your property taxes. And it's super interesting the way that they break this down. So the O&M will never go away. That is just maintaining the community. The debt service will eventually go away once the debt is paid off, maybe probably 30 years. I just saw a big feather. I gotta go get it for my daughter. She'll be super happy to add to her little feather collection. This is huge too. Look at that big feather. Also, with a community like this, you do have to buy into the HOA. You have an upfront fee of a few $1,000s whenever you buy your home, whether it's a brand new build or you're buying a pre-existing home. You have to pay this setup fee with, like, buy-in fee with the HOA. One of the most surprising things to me out here, it is actually a bit more hilly than I would imagine it to be. Now, if you're from like Colorado or something, that's where I lived before, it's kind of funny that I'm saying that, but I just noticed it's rolling out here quite a bit more than a lot of neighborhoods, especially when you get closer to the water, closer to the Gulf, it gets a lot flatter. One of the things I usually complain about with new construction is they don't have big trees. They saved a bunch at the corners of a lot of these neighborhoods and around the parks, around a lot of the wetlands. They saved a lot of these big trees, which I like. All right, fitting place to wrap up the video here. Still have my feather. Amenities are super cool. Tons of options of what kind of houses you want. A lot of incentives coming up. And another phase coming up as well if you miss out on some of these incentives. I think the incentives are gonna get better in 2025. Something I like to remind everyone is of that story that I told in the beginning of Riley and Jordan, real clients, real friends that love these communities up here, that have found a ton of relationships and friends. And if that's something you're looking for, a big community like this with a lot of amenities, with a lot of trails and parks and all those kind of perks is a great option. Okay, now I have tons of things to give you. We have relocation guides. We have new construction guides. We have a weekly webinar now where you can hop on and ask questions. Like maybe you're not ready to book a call yet. That's what we'd like to do. Book a call and talk to you one-on-one and see how we can help. But if you're not ready for that, we have these weekly webinars as well where we cover our process and we give a lot of time for you to ask questions, and we have a ton of fun with these. So links to all that stuff is right here. I would love to see you on the next webinar.